From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring.
I'd like to tell you that right now I'm overseas. I'm in Cyprus, a little island in Europe, where Poe is very popular, and that's where I'm actually from. This is where I was born and raised. And as I can show you, I've been spending my entire summer reading Greek versions of Poe, and I wanted to show it to all your viewers. Pronounced Edgar Allan Poe. I have studied, of course, music and theater and acting, and poetry is something that I'm very, very passionate about. A few years ago, I have written a musical that was performed for 6 months in New York. And the main character, Poe, inspiring the rest of the characters in the play. It received a 6-month run and even a 3-page article in the New York Times called The Regilding of the Gilded Age. And I guess that was my thirst getting to knowing Poe. I direct concerts in New York City. Last September, I had my debut as a choral director at Carnegie Hall. And I work a lot with kids, choirs. I'm an educator. I do solidly provide entertainment for the Ronald McDonald Foundation. We do the Christmas tree lighting for them. My first, I guess, encounter with Mr. Poe was through the show Serenade, which was like 4 or 5 years ago. Alone is a very moving poem, which feels very personal. to me, because commonly Poe is associated with a gothic horror, or the author of the macabre, let's say, and we often fail to see the humanity found in his work. And I found Alone being probably one of his best when it comes to verse. It reflects upon life experience as like an emotional outsider, perceiving life and emotions differently to others, leading often into feeling isolated and questioning why we see things different. And all these elements are definitely elements that I relate to as an artist, because, you know, being a creator, like an artist, a composer, a painter, a writer, it's a very lonesome, a very lonely process, a journey. And that's something that I related. Well, first of all, I felt that the poem itself, it screams to be a song, at least to my eyes and ears, because of the rhythm, the meter, the choice of words and the progressions, even on the vowels, starting with bring, taken, and finally it opens to tone, alone. And I felt that often when poetry is musicalized, it's important that the emphasis is on the words first, like words come first, and music has to be supportive of the intention of the poem. Poetry is very different than lyrics of a song, for instance. Poetry, I think, by looking at even on page, it has a shape, a diagram, a design. You respect the author, even the little punctuations. You see the drama and the intention of the author. And what I wanted to bring was the breathe that the piece has, and add music to it that will support the intention that the author originally had. What I tried to bring into it is the drama and the theatricality. I created, like, through the video, it's not just the recording. We created a video, which is like a short movie with characters reflecting Poe and the dead woman, who's a symbol in Poe's work. And I tried to bring the world of that time closer to today's, with the use of technology, of great cameras, great cinematographers, to bring to life what one visualizes when reading the poem. That was my intention, to try to bring visually on screen, on YouTube, for people to see it from a different perspective. Because when we read it, it's a very personal experience, where when you use a different media, a different platforms, it opens up new possibilities, and it attracts and targets a different audience, if you wish. Alone is a part of a larger work that I've been working since COVID. It's an original musical with the poetry and life of Poe, quotations, real quotations from the letters. The main source of this show, which is called Edgar Visited, it's The Raven, which it's another great example of finding humor into Poe's work, which often is overshadowed by the horror and the sadness and the death of as he coded, as he said, the death of a beautiful woman is questionably the most poetical topic in the world. And equally, it is beyond doubt that the lips best suited for such a topic are those of a, sorry if I pronounce this wrong, bereaved lover. It's a piece that fascinates me, and I relate to because of so Hellenic symbolism in the piece, which of course is not uncommon at the time. Even the raven itself, originally the messenger of Apollo, or of course the bust of Pallas. Pallas refers to the Greek goddess of wisdom, Athena, and all these fascinating elements, which makes a very, very, very contemporary piece, which keeps inspiring people. I have, of course, an Instagram account under my name, Phyto Stratis, Phyto, Phyto Stratis, and also through the nonprofit organizations, Cyprus, New York Productions. They can find, of course, the video of Alone and other videos that we upload.
Then in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled.
The skies, they were ashen and sober. The outfield was littered and sere. It was late in a lonesome October of a most unremarkable year. In a field on the outskirts of Mudville, where the grasses lay dusted and sere, long past was the cheering of April, and the crack of the bat on a spear, under skies where no cloud would appear.
When I began teaching and when I moved back to Ohio in 2018, it occurred to me to start a blog to kind of follow up on my literary interests. So that led me to kind of a lifelong interest in Ernest Lawrence Thayer and his writings, which I have discovered more of, not just the one that we know, but on the blog, it occurred to me some time ago to try to imagine what Casey at the Bat would have been like if it had been written by some of the major poets that we know from our texts and so forth, including Emily Dickinson, Walt Whitman, and of course couldn't let Edgar Allan Poe go unnoticed. So he had to be drawn into this into this project also. Well, that's a question I anticipated, and Poe was a master of pathos. I guess we could call him sort of the poet laureate of pathos in some ways. And I was exploring on the blog some ways that baseball fans especially have to grapple with pathos in the course of a season, especially in October when the season is coming to often, well, for most of us, for all of us except for one team, our season is gradually coming to some kind of a pathetic end. And Poe's poems are sometimes set in a seasonal, given a seasonal setting. The Raven, for example, is set in December, and Ulalume, which occurred to me after browsing through some of his poems that I knew. Ulalume is set in October, and it occurred to me that the kind of pathos that Poe certainly felt and communicated so well is felt by baseball fans everywhere at some point in the season, and especially at the end for those of us who are not going on to the championship.